How does Nagini have venom if she's a constrictor? Some comments like this were made in the episode where I talk about Voldemort's appearance.
The reason he ended up with that appearance is one of those reasons was because he fed on Nagini's venom.
And then, the people who know a bit more about biology got confused because, in fact, Nagini, in the movies, looks like a snake that doesn't have venom. But we need to remember that we're talking about a magical universe. She may look like a snake that doesn't have venom, but in the story, she does. And we also need to remember that Nagini wasn't a common, ordinary snake. She used to be a woman. Nagini was a maledictus. She carried a hereditary blood curse that forced her to turn into a snake every night. And this curse progresses until its victim can no longer return to human form. This also explains the rather bizarre image of Voldemort in that rudimentary body, literally feeding from Nagini's breasts.
But snakes don't really have breasts, do they? Because they're reptiles, not mammals.
And that illustration, it was a concept art, presented in the movie Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, when Nagini was going to appear for the first time.
What happens is that obviously the artists, they know the background of the characters.
And then, the artist illustrated it that way, to show that it was a different snake that had once been a woman. That was back when the Goblet of Fire was being produced, around 2004. And anyone who thinks that Nagini being a woman was something completely made up for the Fantastic Beasts movies, they're very mistaken, because back in 2005, one of the title registrations for the last Harry Potter book, which was Deathly Hallows, was Harry Potter and the Curse of Nagini.
So Nagini always had this background, this story, but it was never told in the books. We should remember that books are edited and much is cut from the final version, but that doesn't mean it isn't in the books. In fact, there are people who are attacked by Nagini, like Mr. Weasley, and her venom is so strong, so potent that he almost dies.
And that's another clue that she was a special snake. At the hospital, they just couldn't heal Mr. Weasley's wounds at all. Everything they tried didn't work, because it was a different kind of venom. An interesting detail is that Nagini is inspired by an Indonesian legend, where there were mythical beings, half snake, half human, called Nagas, and Nagini literally means female snake.
So that's why Nagini, even though she looks like a constrictor snake, has venom.